Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astatara Sata Shishima Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astatara Sata Shishima Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnupade Krishna Vishnu Bhutale Shamati Nitya Santi Jai Bhagavatam Bhakti Charan Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, Kapila's Instructions on Devotional Service, Text 25. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Gudar Guhodarastam. Okay, let's go once more. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Guhodarastam. Yatratmayoni Dishana Kila Loka Padmam. Vyudham Harinmani Vrishastanayor Amushya. Dhyayadvayam Vishadaharam Mayuka Gauram. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Guhodarastam. Yatratmayoni Dishana Kila Loka Padmam. Vyudham Harinmani Vrishastanayor Amushya. Dhyayadvayam Vishadaharam Mayuka Gauram. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Guhodarastam. Yatratmayoni Dishana Kila Loka Padmam. Vyudham Harinmani Vrishastanayor Amushya. Dhyayadvayam Vishadaharam Mayuka Gauram. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Guhodarastam. Yatratmayoni Dishana Kila Loka Padmam. Vyudham Harinmani Vrishastanayor Amushya. Dhyayadvayam Vishadaharam Mayuka Gauram. Nabi Radambu Vanakosha Guhodarastam. Yatratmayoni Dishana Kila Loka Padmam. Vyudham Harinmani Vrishastanayor Amushya. Shadahara Mayuka Gauram Nabigradam, the navel lake, Bhuvanakosha, of all the worlds, Guha, the foundation, Udara, on the abdomen, Stham, situated, Yatra, where, Atmayoni, of Brahma, Dishana, residence, Akila Loka, containing all planetary systems, Padmam, lotus, Vyudham, sprang up, Haritmani, like emeralds, Vrisha, most exquisite, Stanayo, of nipples, Amushya, of the Lord, Dhyayat, he should meditate, Dvayam, the pair, Vishada, white, Hara, of pearl necklaces, Mayuka, from the light, Gauram, whitish. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The yogi should then meditate on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, sprang the lotus stem, containing all the different planetary systems. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, the first created being. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind on the Lord's nipples, which resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk-white pearl necklaces adorning his chest. Purport. The yogi is advised next to meditate upon the navel of the Lord, which is the foundation of all material creation. Just as a child is connected to his mother by the umbilical cord, so the firstborn living creature, Brahma, by the supreme will of the Lord, is connected to the Lord by a lotus stem. In the previous verse it was stated that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who engages in massaging the legs, ankles, and thighs of the Lord, is called the mother of Brahma. But actually Brahma is born from the abdomen of the Lord, not from the abdomen of his mother. These are inconceivable conceptions of the Lord, and one should not think materially, how can the father give birth to a child? It is explained in the Brahma Samhita that each limb of the Lord has the potency of every other limb. Because everything is spiritual, his parts are not conditioned. The Lord can see with his ears. The material ear can hear but cannot see, as we understand from the Brahma Samhita, that the Lord can also see with his ears and hear with his eyes. Any organ of his transcendental body can function as any other organ. His abdomen is the foundation of all the planetary systems. Brahma holds the post of the creator of all planetary systems, but his engineering energy is generated from the abdomen of the Lord. Any creative function in the universe always has a direct connecting link with the Lord. The necklace of pearls which decorates the upper portion of the Lord's body is also spiritual, and therefore the yogi is advised to gaze at the whitish luster of the pearls decorating his chest. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now we're at the next step of this meditation that's being described. Starting at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then gradually lifting the eyes up the Lord's body. So today's meditation is on his navel, so in the center of his abdomen, and then from the navel up to his chest, and is described his beautiful nipples that are like exquisite emeralds and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk white pearl necklaces adorning his chest. So it's a very vivid description of the beauty of the Lord. His navel, which is, as Srila Prabhupada describes, which is the place that the lotus stem has come from. Lord Brahma takes his birth in that way, up to his chest. And we know from descriptions from the Shastra, Krishna's chest is very broad, is very strong, and a very worthy place for our meditation. So we meditate on the Lord, as we know, in this progressive way, where we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, and gradually we lift our eyes. And we can always, at every moment, be meditating on the Lord. And it's very interesting, actually, this section. Srila Prabhupada speaks about how this meditation that's being described is for the yogi, is for concentrating the mind. But when we are fixed in bhakti yoga, the mind is already concentrated on the Lord's service. It's not in any way to diminish this beautiful meditation that we're going through, but I find it's quite interesting how even Lord Kapila Dev is explaining it in this way. If we go back to text 20, Lord Kapila Dev says, "In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all of his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord," as we learn how to meditate on Krishna progressively. And Srila Prabhupada, he talks about, in the purport to this verse, he talks about a Muni, and how a Muni is one who is very expert in mental speculation, and that he's not mentioned here as a devotee. So those who try to meditate on the form of the Lord are called Munis, or less intelligent, whereas those who render actual service to the Lord are called Bhakti Yogis. The thought process described below, which is what we're in now, these verses in there, is for the education of the Muni. In order to convince the yogi that the absolute truth or supreme personality of Godhead is never impersonal at any time, the following verses prescribe observing the Lord in his personal form, limb after limb. So we're hearing a very bona fide description of the Lord, limb after limb, this progressive meditation. And yet, one who is absorbed in bhakti yoga already has that meditation. Yes, this is being described for those who are yogis, for the education of the yogi. Yes, that the Lord is never impersonal at any time. The Lord has a form. Here is his form. Meditate on his form. This is how to meditate on his form. And through that meditation on his form, the mind becomes purified and fixed. This chapter is actually really interesting. The whole description of this process of yoga that Lord Kapila Dev is giving. Because in the first text of this chapter, Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport there that this process of yoga that Lord Kapila Dev is describing is a bona fide yoga process, and Vaishnavas can follow this very carefully to achieve the result of being able to concentrate the mind. In text 34, I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm hoping this is going to link up. In text 34 of this chapter, then Lord Kapila Dev describes the result of this meditation, of following this course of concentrating the mind, having this personal form of the Lord to which to concentrate the mind on. And he says, by following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs of his body stand erect through excessive joy, and he is bathed constantly in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. And Prabhupada describes this. So we're hearing that the result of this meditation, the result of this yoga process, is the development of pure love for Krishna in ecstasy with ecstatic symptoms, which is our goal, yes? Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not the perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in the higher stages, there is no question of using the mind. When I was reading this, this is very interesting, how this process is working. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Supreme Lord by purification of his senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. The mind is used to purify the senses, but when the senses are purified by meditation, there is no need to sit in a particular place and try to meditate on the form of the Lord. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When the mind, this is far out sentence, when the mind is forcibly engaged upon the form of the Lord, this is called nirbija yoga, or lifeless yoga, for the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called sabija yoga, or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. So when I was reading through this, it's a very interesting chapter, and I can't really say much more on Prabhupada's words on that, but it's worth contemplation, that we use the mind, but our goal is simply to be absorbed in Krishna's service. And by that absorption in Krishna's service, we are automatically thinking of Krishna. We're automatically absorbed in thinking of Krishna. We no longer have to try to bring Krishna into the mind, to try to meditate in different ways. We no longer have to forcibly drag Krishna into our mind, because we are simply absorbed in Krishna's service. That is living yoga. It's automatic, and that comes from purification of the mind and the senses, yeah, by engagement in devotional service. And I was thinking of Arjuna when I was reading this, you know. In Bhagavad Gita, you know, we see what is Arjuna doing, and Prabhupada uses Arjuna as an example again and again of being actively engaged in Krishna's service. Arjuna was not sitting in meditation. Arjuna was firing arrows. You know, he was following Krishna's instruction, and in that he was totally absorbed in this action of following Krishna's instruction, absorbed in his relationship with Krishna, because he has a very deep, pure relationship with Krishna. And I remember reading from, I think it's actually from the book that Daivi Shakti Mataji compilated on the building of the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. It's a very wonderful book. And in there, I hope I'm not mistaking where this is from, but there are pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and the devotees who are so absorbed in trying to build this temple for Prabhupada's pleasure. And one devotee was complaining to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, all I can think about is cement and how everyone is cheating us, and I can't think about Krishna. There's so much, it's so intense for me, and I can't think about Krishna. And Prabhupada said, you're thinking about Krishna's service. This is Krishna consciousness. This is absorption. You know, so don't worry, you go on, you do your service. This is absorption in Krishna consciousness. It's not simply trying to force Krishna into our mind, but it's being so absorbed in Krishna's service that we can't think of anything else. Then it becomes automatic. And that is desired. There's absolutely nothing wrong in this beautiful description of the Lord's form. It's beautiful, it's enchanting. We want to, focus our mind on Krishna. Understanding, though, that the goal is to be completely absorbed in Krishna's service so that Krishna can never leave our mind. There's no question of having to put him there, because he's already there. He's filling our heart, our mind, our senses, everything, and completely absorbed in Krishna. That's the standard of pure devotion. That, obviously is a very gradual process to get there. But by having a proper dosage, I was thinking of this last night, by having this proper dosage of hearing and chanting, then actually the question of controlling the mind diminishes greatly. Because when the mind is absorbed properly by our process of hearing and chanting, if we absorb ourselves in our chanting, if we absorb ourselves in our hearing, then the mind is becoming purified. The mind no longer presents too many issues, because it is automatically engaged in Krishna's service. And we understand this from Bhagavad Gita in how to control the senses. We can only control the senses when they're engaged in something higher. Same with the mind. There's not really a question of having to control the mind once we are absorbed in Krishna's service. But that is a very high stage. That's pure devotion, where our mind is not at all deviated from Krishna's service at any time. So that level of absorption should be our shining goal. We can see this beautiful description of the form of the Lord, his feet, his navel, his nipples shining, these whitish pearl necklaces on his body are shining. Even the pearl necklace on his body is spiritual. What a fantastic conception, yes? So we can use these tools to think deeply about Krishna and to become absorbed in thought of him and absorbed in thought of his service. And as that matures, then we no longer have to try to drag the mind to Krishna. It's just so full. When I read from Shrutakirti Prabhu in this book, What is the Difficulty? It's such a wonderful book of pastimes of Srila Prabhupada when Shrutakirti Prabhu was his personal servant. And he describes this just witnessing Prabhupada and his pure devotion at every step, his total absorption. That Prabhupada ran the whole Society for Krishna Consciousness from his little desk with a pen and paper, And regardless, so many responsibilities, so many issues and things coming in from all over the world. Prabhu describes how Prabhupada every day would sit and play his harmonium and sing beautiful bhajans just for the Lord's pleasure. He didn't, he writes there that, Prabhupada didn't specifically invite people to come in and sit with him, but you were always welcome to. But he would just do it by himself. Just sit there and chant and sing for the Lord, because he was always absorbed in pure devotion to Krishna, regardless of, whatever he was doing. It was just 100% purely absorbed in Krishna's service. His expression of devotion was at every moment. So we have such a wonderful example in Prabhupada. If we can have but a drop, then we'll be doing very well. We'll be fixed also. So that's what I wanted to share today. And I can't really expand so much on what Srila Prabhupada's saying here, but this is a very interesting chapter, actually, and the conclusion that we get to is very wonderful. Okay. Would anyone like to make any further expansions or ask a question? It's, What do you think, Prabhu? Please do.
preaching is the essence, purity is the course, and books are the basis.
Books are the basis.
These things that we do are actually what helps bring us to this point. That was great. Just give me this next to me here. So it's the service that he is doing and giving this knowledge to the conditioned souls is giving him the eligibility to very easily come to this stage of seeing Krishna within the heart. So when you're doing the service, you're automatically absorbed in Krishna. So just by helping spread this Krishna consciousness, you become very, very deep with the Lord. And he will automatically reveal himself to you. You don't have to sit down and struggle to meditate. The Lord is you're trying to please the Lord. He will automatically reveal himself. So we don't have to struggle. We just sit at the table and distribute the books, and automatically Krishna is going to make so many wonderful arrangements. If we have that understanding, because we're hearing of the beauty of the Lord and how Lord Brahma is born from the navel and all these inconceivable things. So in the same way, these inconceivable things can happen to us also when we're engaged in the service. He can do so many inconceivable things. That will come to the realization as we listen to, because it's very difficult to focus the mind on the Lord. But if we understand the potency of performing service for the Lord, and all these other things that will not be revealed to us.
That's right. We should always be engaged in active service.
If we can.
As possible, And then, as you say, we just become absorbed, and Krishna becomes very pleased. Krishna sees that we're giving our energy, our time, our life, our intention is to serve him, then Krishna becomes very pleased. Yes. And definitely Prabhu is worthy of glorification for his book distribution service.
The Amrita Swami said that at one of the retreats one year, that when we're worrying about whether or not we said the right thing to some new person, you're in anxiety, did I tell him the right thing? He said, this is samadhi. Just worrying about whether or not you are scaring away the bhaktas is samadhi. So that's good on samadhi all the time. Which I hope applies to our children as well. So the parents are in samadhi continually.
Well, your example is action speaks louder than words. So by your doing what you're doing, that has a huge impact. Not so much what you say when you're down at the unit, but the fact that you're hopping in your car and you're going out there, that just speaks volumes. They'll remember that. They won't remember what you were saying to them inside your house, but they'll remember, Dad used to just go out. That just all goes over the top of them. But the fact that they were going out and doing distribution like this, will be something that will stick in their minds. And then they'll get that realization also that by surrendering to Krishna, Krishna makes very wonderful arrangements so that we can go back to Godhead. Because we can't do it on our own. We can't go and purchase a ticket to Goloka Vrindavan. That's not possible. We've just got to please the devotees, and this is our way of going back. Even though we're not qualified, still just by doing that service, we become qualified just by that act of service.
We were just reading last night that what is the qualification for going back to Godhead? It's this intense greed to have, lowly, this intense greed to have pure devotion. That's our only, So, yes, by performing that act of service and showing Krishna, we're keen, we're ready.
I was just thinking, this is my thought process, it's not very clear, but that it's like we have the example of Arjuna, and Krishna wants Arjuna to engage in fighting, which is what Arjuna is good at, and that's his body, in his eternal body actually. And in the same way, we were hearing yesterday that it's like if we only engage in services that we like, it's not as pure. But maybe is it coincidental that Krishna asked Arjuna to do something that
And, you know, we can't take Krishna out of the picture in any part of our lives. So we have, Krishna's given us some talents, some abilities, some skills. You know, Krishna gives us things that we're also good at. But what we were reading last night, and you can see, you know, in Bhagavad Gita, we see Arjuna's nature. He's a warrior, yes, and that's what he's good at. Krishna knows that. And yet then in the beginning he didn't want to fight. He wanted to renounce his nature, and Krishna told him, no, that's not going to be suitable for you. You need to fight, you know. And then, so that was simultaneously he's using his nature and following Krishna's instruction, because he was ready to renounce his nature or his duty. But then when Krishna gave him the instruction, then he followed that. So then he fought in pure devotion to Krishna, because he's following Krishna's instruction, whether Krishna's instruction to him was use your nature and fight. Yeah. So in the same way, again, this is like a very broad topic, but in the same way, if we are given the order from our spiritual master, from our seniors, you know, you engage in this service, if that's a service that is in line with our talent or our abilities, then, you know, we can see that we're using our nature under the order of the spiritual master, therefore the purity is there through the instruction. We may be given the instruction to do something that's outside of our nature, and then it's up to us to come up to that, you know, and actually step up and put aside what we think we might be good at, and follow the instruction, and then the purity is there in following the instruction. I think that's kind of, you know, yeah. And what we were reading last night, you know, what is our motivation in performing service? Is it that we only want to perform service that we're good at? You know, is it that we only want to perform service that we're good at, or that's in line with our nature, or are we able to step out of that sometimes and, you know, perform service that is outside of our nature? What is our motivation? Is our motivation to serve, or only to do things that we like? Yeah.
That will come, because we can see, well, just speaking for myself, you know, in 30 years, things change so much as well. And then it's really just a test of your humility, your ability to adapt, and also detach from certain things that you were good at because you've got to take up something else. So as we go through life, you know, we're constantly changing because our situation is changing. And we can see that with Arjuna as well. He was in the forest, just waiting, you know, as an exile.
Yeah, he was a dance teacher, with bangles and long hair.
You know, so we go through different phases, but as long as we have that desire to please, whatever it is, whatever it takes, because it changes, like the weather. We're going through this samsara and our bodies are changing, and so the situations are changing, and we can even see with Prabhupada's life. It was, you know, evolving and going up and down, so we've just got to ride it out. It's like being in the ocean, just stay in the boat. Don't jump out of the boat, you know, because there is rough patches, there's storms, and there's very nice pleasant times, so we're just going to adapt as we go along, and not be, like you say, just fixed in one service. This is the only service I'm going to do, you know, because that we get challenged with that as well. We get things that we don't want to do, you know, so we just got to adapt and try and please as much as we can within our capabilities.
Yeah, and take the example from the senior devotees who have done that in their life. You know, you can see how they've maneuvered through life and performed so many different services at different times under the instruction of their spiritual master that may be what they wanted to do, or maybe not what they wanted to do, you know, but they've gone through that, and then their motivation is just to serve their guru and please Krishna. I remember our very illustrious Tilakini Mataji telling me how she was a book distributor. You know, we can all see Tilakini distributing books, yeah? Just go to people's houses and give them a set, you take it, you know. And she was a book distributor, and she loved that service. And then she was asked to be a pujari. And you see, and she's been pujari for so long, you know, but how does she perform her service? With full absorption in thinking of Krishna's pleasure, whichever service it is. So, but because she received that instruction, then her service changed. And, okay, you know, Krishna wants me to serve him like this. Now I do like that. So we can...
And we should have that faith that Krishna is seeing what we're doing, and he will also reciprocate also. You know, and we do sort of get that reciprocation from the Lord. We should not think that he's not seeing what we're doing. He's seeing exactly what we're doing. And he knows how to deal with it accordingly. So we just have that faith and carry on, then things will happen. We may lose all our wealth or whatever it may be, but still that may be a test of Christians. Do you really want to serve me in poverty? So we all go, we're all at different levels and different stages, and Krishna deals with us expertly as individuals. So we just have to appreciate that as well. That He knows exactly what we need, and when to put the test in place, and all those sort of things. It can be tough sometimes. It can be painful. Look at Juna's life. We just got to look at Juna's life. What a test. Right? So we've got it pretty easy.
Okay, that's true.
What was her name in answer? What Arjuna was in answer?
Brihanala. Brihanala? Yes? Yeah, in Mahabharata, I'm pretty sure. Brihanala. Yes. Yeah. Dancing girl, So, yes. Oh, thank you for a very nice discussion. That's always the best part of class. Granthai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.